Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers. We're here every week talking to interesting people and learning a lot of new things. And this week, I'd like to think that when people finish watching this show, they're going to learn more about county government as it applies to the state of Oklahoma than they did before the show.
Well, that's our mission. That's our goal. And we certainly got somebody that can bring that about. But before we get to that, happy birthday.
What birthday would that be?
It is our, you set me up just right. 6th birthday. April 1, 2001 was our very first show. This show was airing April 1, 2007. 6 years ago we started. Very appropriately, we started on April Fool's Day.
Yeah, that is hard to imagine that we've been doing this show for 6 years. It has flown by, but we owe a lot of gratitude to Cox Communications for making the show possible here in the last several years. They've been terrific to work with.
These guys out here, and they're just wonderful. Thanks, guys.
We're going to interview County Commissioner Jim Roth on today's show. You're watching The Verdict, so stay with us.
For Chesapeake Energy, every day is game day. A chance to outperform the field and win again. Winning consistently demands the kind of leadership we see in the Hornets' Chris Paul, a champion whose respect for the game and his team has produced one of pro basketball's brightest new stars. At Chesapeake, we know leadership starts with a generous heart as well as the will to win. It's taking responsibility for more than personal success. It's building teams that perform as one. In natural gas exploration, winning demands leaders who develop strong teams in the company and in the community. And always, the purpose of victory is prosperity for our fellow citizens and our communities. We've learned each win is earned as a team, and Chris Paul proves it every time he plays. Chesapeake, American Energy wins the day.
There's a whole new world online, but it's not always safe for kids. What if someone you meet online sends a message that makes you feel uncomfortable? Tell a parent or teacher right now. It's the safe way for kids, right, gang?
Right. Be safe online.
Thanks to Lauren Nelson and Cox, we're working to keep Oklahoma kids safer online. For your free guide, log on now. And if you feel your child has been placed in danger by someone online, notify law enforcement today.
Hi, honey. You've got to check this out.
What? What are we listening to?
I had digital phone service installed today.
It sounds just like before.
I know, but it's going to save us a ton of money.
With Cox Digital Telephone, you'll save big every month. Keep your same phone number and get your favorite calling features. Just pay less.
That does sound good.
You should hear the upstairs phone.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Awfully pleased today to have the Honorable Jim Roth, James Roth, the Oklahoma County Commissioner from District 1 here in Oklahoma County with us. He has been an Oklahoman by choice for the past 16 years. He's been serving as a county commissioner since 2002. He did his undergraduate work at Kansas State University, got his law degree from Oklahoma City University. He's been active in many organizations in Oklahoma City in addition to his work with the county. It's his first visit to The Verdict, but I sure hope it is not his last. Jim, welcome.
Thank you and good morning.
And
happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Sixth show, 6 years of shows right here on The Verdict.
Did you bring the cake?
No, you should have, shouldn't we?
Rats, I forgot.
Now, video productions like county government, every year years worth 7, like the life of a dog. So you've been on the air for 42 years, right? Congratulations.
Some of our viewers think so.
You have been around the county courthouse for some time. You were a staff member before you decided to take on the job of running for a county commissioner.
That's right.
What appeals to you about county government? You obviously are a talented person, could be doing a lot of different things. You've chosen to invest this portion of your life in county government. Why?
I have. Well, a bit like you, I think, in that we're motivated by direct contact with the people and the level of government that is in that intimate contact. You know, we get to deliver services and make a difference in the day you learn of the problem. It's not like an act of Congress or the legislative session waiting for it to come around on the calendar. It is you learn of an issue that day and you have the agility to actually do something about it immediately, and that's attractive to me.
Well, I'm not quite sure. I've got a pretty good idea what the mayor does almost on a daily basis. But what is a county commissioner, what are the primary duties of a county commissioner, particularly Oklahoma County?
Sure. Oklahoma County, like the other 76 counties in the state, have 3 commissioners. We serve geographic districts, meaning they're an equal population to that county's population. We each serve a third. Those districts are reapportioned after every federal census. So in this county, I have about 680,000 people. I get to serve a third of them. Individual responsibilities are road and bridge and infrastructure issues within the district we serve. And when the two of you and I and others fill up our cars or trucks at the gas pump, the proceeds from that transaction, a portion of which go to the state and local government, well, the county portion comes to us, and we use those proceeds to do the road and bridge work within our districts. As a member of the Board of County Commissioners, of course, we are considered the body politic by definition under the Constitution and the statute. Our roles are the responsibility for overseeing every dollar of expenditure in county government. Even the other 5 countywide elected officials who have responsibility to do their own duties have to run every contract through our board and every expenditure through our board. And so we're kind of a board of directors, so to speak. And we do a lot of things constitutionally and statutorily, like caring for the poor, operating the county jail, and you can imagine everything in between.
I'm very familiar with the way our county system works in Oklahoma, which positions are elected officials and generally the duties. Is Oklahoma typical of what county government is in every other state in the country, or is there a lot of difference?
There is a lot of difference, particularly between urban counties and cities. As you know, we share a lot of similar jurisdiction. There's a lot of overlap, not just in geography, but some would say in service. But in the south of America, the southern states were a model that's pretty common in terms of commissioners that are the governing body. Up north, it's a little bit different. You generally have county executives or county managers, either elected or appointed by part-time or full-time commissions. So it's a little bit different. Arguably, and I personally believe, our model's a bit antiquated. County government in the state of Oklahoma is in fact older than the state. So while the state is celebrating its 100th birthday, county government in Oklahoma County is in fact 117 years old. So we were established at literally the horse and buggy phase of America's exploration west. And we were an extension of territorial government. And unfortunately, at the time of statehood, that model was hard-coded in the Constitution. And so a lot of us that would like to see county government with structural reform have had to wait for the legislature to think that's a good idea too.
Let me ask you a few more nuts and bolts questions. You're District 1.
Yep.
Just roughly, what's the geographic boundaries of District 1?
All of downtown Oklahoma City, the surrounding historic neighborhoods, as far west as Stockyard City and Lake Hefner, and then east picks up the cities of Midwest City, Choctaw, Luther, Jones, Spencer, Forest Park, the southern edge of Arcadia, Lake Aluma, and then back along the southern edge of Nichols Hills to Lake Hefner.
How many square miles is that?
It's actually 41% of 720. So it's quite large, but it's just a third of the population. I have 241 road miles of responsibility, which is again about 40% of the county, and the bridge responsibility also about 39%.
Now, if you have a stupid question here, if you have a street that's in Oklahoma City and, of course, in Oklahoma, or is it also in Oklahoma County, who has the responsibility to maintain it?
It actually depends. I'll give you an example. 63rd Street from May Avenue to Grand Boulevard on the northwest side of town right now, and the mayor's familiar with this, is a partnership project because Nichols Hills is the north side of that. Oklahoma City is the south side of that, but years ago the city, either intentionally or otherwise, de-annexed a portion by the Oklahoma City Golf and Country Club. So that fell by law to county government because it's considered unincorporated portion. So that mile and a half actually has 3 parents. Which is why it's probably been neglected as it has been for the number of years, but we're finally in a partnership to replace it. So to answer your question, we are responsible for the unincorporated areas in every city under 5,000, and cities over 5,000 get those gas tax receipts that I spoke of earlier. They get it directly, and they're responsible for their roads.
Let me follow up a little bit on, again, another nuts and bolts question. Let's talk about staff at the county commissioner's office. Staff, tell us about what your staff, personal staff is like, or size, duties, and then is there a common staff pool or something?
Great question. One of the reasons that I first ran in 2002 is because I thought my predecessor was abusing the office and was using it for political hirings and building more of a kingdom than the infrastructure of the county. She had ballooned the payroll up to 58 full-time employees. And when I came in and reorganized, I asked them all to reapply so I could learn what their skills were. And Kent, you would be shocked, I think, to realize what I learned, and that is 22 of the 58 were actually related to each other. My predecessor's superintendent had hired 4 relatives. I had 17 people on the payroll as truck drivers and only 7 trucks, 5 that worked. So it had become this cronyism environment that unfortunately the constitutional structure that we are permits if you have a bad official. Today I have 35 full-time employees and I'm doing more with less. We in fact have built 8 bridges in 5 years. My predecessor built 1 in 4 because we're spending only 30 cents of every dollar on overhead instead of the 62 plus that she was. Even though I have the largest district, I'm proud to say I have the smallest staff. I have 3 full-time employees downtown, none of which were campaign donors or contributors or volunteers. They all applied because I publicly advertised the jobs. But again, back to the structure of county government, if you have someone that has less than good intentions, they can hire friends. The law only prohibits them from directly hiring relatives of the elected official. So again, our staff is very competent, very qualified. They all have college degrees or graduate level doing our work within our district. But the same can't be said for every county in the state sometimes, unfortunately.
We've had the county commissioner scandal years and years ago. Are safeguards in place now to prevent that from happening again in Oklahoma?
A lot of safeguards have been put in place since the scandals from the late 70s and 80s. And as you know, it was the largest public corruption scandal in America's history, which is not obviously a good thing, let alone such a young state.
Yeah, we're number 1.
Unfortunately, we were. The state of Mississippi went through something similar in the 70s, and they did much more significant structural reform. Their counties, in fact, now have a manager, and they have, like the city, has a charter that gives them that agility to not only submit things directly to their electorate to change and to be more agile, but they have, like an elected city auditor or a county auditor, a few of those internal controls that are separate. There are internal controls in place today, much better than there were in the past. And so that is great. Our books are very open and transparent. The state auditor virtually lives with us. Matter of fact, a portion of your property tax in every county goes into what's called a state auditor levy, and it pays them to do that oversight over the shoulders. But you still occasionally will learn of a bad official at every level of government. But unfortunately, the history of county government in Oklahoma seems to have more than its share.
Let me jump in and get us to our first break. Jim Roth is our guest. We're learning about county government in general, Oklahoma County government in specifics, and we'll get into some of the issues affecting Oklahoma County when we return on The Verdict.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
Shining is taking responsibility. At Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, we know managing your health care can be overwhelming, and it's our job to help you meet the challenge. By guiding, supporting, and showing the way, we encourage you to gain control. Because we believe the best tool we can give you is the confidence to take charge. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oklahoma, shining through.
That land next door was a mess. Take more than a lawnmower to revive that land. I heard the oil and natural gas people was cleaning up old oil sites, and it wouldn't cost us a plug nickel. Oh yes, sir, it was quite a revival. The whole church showed up, want to make a playground for the kids. It sure is a blessing.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, Each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
Oh, hi. I know you guys said I'd save with Cox Digital Telephone. Well, my bill came and... Could this be right?
You may be surprised how much you save with Cox Digital Telephone. That's why over 1.5 million people have switched.
So this really is a total. Lovely. Because I think I found a good use for the savings.
With Cox, there's no waiting for the other shoe to drop. The only surprise is there's no surprise at all.
Not sure where you're headed? NATS can help you find your way. It's the National Athletic Testing System. We call it NATS. You'll call it your launching pad to success. NATS will give you a standardized evaluation that will help you measure your performance and give that information to college coaches so they can accurately evaluate your potential. NATS also helps with academic support. Join with the Oklahoma High School Football Coaches Association and head for success at www.nats.us.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers. Our guest is Oklahoma County Commissioner Jim Roth. And Jim, when we were left for the commercial, we were talking about different ways of restructuring government. And some cities, similar to Oklahoma City size across the country, have gone to what's called a home rule, some sort of combination between the city government and the county government. I know you've been waist deep in that issue. What's your current philosophies?
I'm a believer in a process called home rule. Which actually is a reform movement that began in the 60s, in the 1960s across America. Most urban counties have explored this idea. How home rule works is that a group of citizens, for example, all the citizens of Oklahoma County and its various cities, would be asked to come together, study what's working in county government, look at maybe what's not working as well as it should, and submit a charter to the vote of the people. Like the cities operate under a charter, we would have that existence defining our role. What services should we provide? What tax rate is appropriate for that delivery of services? And it's a chance to not only modernize this structure, but to make it local. That's the beauty of home rule. I mean, the name is pretty much self-explanatory. You're seeing that in major urban areas around the country. Nashville did it, Jacksonville, Florida, Duval County, some places like that, Denver City County. You're seeing some efforts where they've combined not only jurisdiction, but the delivery of services, and they're doing it arguably for less tax resources.
Mm-hmm. Well, you look at positions like city clerk and treasurer and county clerk, and we're probably well served at the county courthouse with people in those positions, but does it need to be an elected official?
Right.
Could those same people perhaps be appointed? Would that be a better system? Do you think we have the right number of elected officials?
Well, there's a number of great services currently handled by our countywide elected officials that provide that umbrella, that economy, particularly amongst the smaller cities. For example, there's only one point of assessment on property. That's the assessor. There's only one point of tax collection, whether it's for schools or cities or whatever. That's through the county treasurer. So there's some great economy already happening. Where I think the greatest opportunities are is the fact, do we really need 3 commissioners in an urban county in this century that are responsible primarily for road and bridge construction? Now, I'll work to be the best that I can while that's the structure, but I think the question has to be asked, do we need full-time road bosses in the state's most populous county? You're doing road and bridge work throughout your jurisdiction. Midwest City's doing it, Edmond's doing it. You know, we could figure out some mutual aid opportunities where they can maybe pick up that adjoining unincorporated area. Or perhaps the county then grows its responsibility over some of the less dense areas that you're having to drive that whole mile out and spend that resource from your other locations. So definitely I think there's opportunity for reform. Whether they should be elected or not, I think is something for that charter and that citizen process to determine. I personally think we need a full-time manager, whether it's elected county executive like Seattle, King County, or whether it's a manager like you have that's hired from a majority of your elected council. Again, that's up to the charter and then therefore up to the people. But I think it's time for that type of conversation.
Realize I may be opening Pandora's box when I ask this, but would this facilitate coordination of police and fire protection? Instead of having 10 different departments, you could have one?
You bet. It very well could. It could mean that a county level fire department exists. It could mean that the largest city takes over again for some of the surrounding areas. I mean, I don't profess the conclusion. I'm just an advocate for the process, which basically gives the keys to the citizens to drive it and say, what do they want? And it could be all of those things. It could be the delivery of public services, public safety. We already have a combined city-county jail, which is working pretty well. It's very good at what it was designed for. It's past capacity, but the point is there's no city jails out there any longer. We now are combining that effort, and I think that's the right model.
I know that with 3 county commissioners, there's got to be coordination between the 3 of you to get things done.
Right.
We also have an open meeting law that requires that decisions of the county officials or municipal officials be done according to an agenda and an open meeting.
Right.
How do you operate on a daily basis to get things done between the 3 commissioners and still maintain the spirit of open meeting?
Because I think your point is, because there's only 3, if 2 people talk and reach a conclusion, you could be in violation of the Open Meetings Act.
That's
literally, county commissioners have trouble having conversations because they don't want to break the law.
You know, back to our conversation about the model, no Fortune 500 company would be run with 3 equal heads. You just wouldn't have it that way. It would be very difficult if finance and legal and engineering or whatever each had a voice in the direction of the corporation. That's the model that we have. Even though I serve as the chairman this year, I still have responsibility to inform my colleagues almost really on a daily basis of some of the decisions that are coming to me, because we're only allowed to meet in an open meeting, which is actually great in terms of sunshine and openness. But as the mayor said, if 2 of us gather anywhere, it's potentially a violation of the Open Meetings Act. And over time, if you've noticed in the history of Oklahoma County government, although I'm thankful that we're on the mend now, but over time you've seen a lack of trust, you've seen a lack of credibility that comes from the infighting that's occurred because 1 or more officials thought they should have had a louder voice. So again, it's a structural challenge that exists with what's the better model from a business standpoint. I currently think a 3-headed monster is not the right method, but again, those of us, and I include myself in that are committed to doing it right, don't mind whatever structure, but anytime you get someone that's not, it can be catastrophic.
You brought up issues at the jail involving overcrowding. What's the solution there? What would be the best approach to try and figure out the capital needs and the operation needs and the oversight needs?
The criminal justice system throughout the state of Oklahoma is in trouble and has to be addressed at the state level, no question. When DOC is not properly funded and doesn't have enough prison beds, guess what? That dilemma rolls downhill to those of us in local government. And that's their dilemma today. And for some reason, the legislature either hasn't found the political will or doesn't have the resources to do it better. So that's our reality. We have a county jail that is in fact the largest incarcerated environment in the entire state of Oklahoma. It's twice the size and population of McAllister. A lot of people think of McAllister as the big maximum security prison. Unfortunately, our county jail is also the largest psychiatric care facility in the state of Oklahoma. And so you're seeing some social ills that have rolled to the criminal justice system because they weren't addressed on the front end. We have a 1,200 cell facility. We have around 2,700 to 2,800 detainees today. Last summer, we exceeded the fire marshal limit for the first time and began getting citations, and that was over 2,900 people. We have dilemmas because of segregation where men can't be with women, nonviolent offenders can't be with capital offenders, that necessitate sometimes 4 adults in a 7 by 11 room. That's 2 bunks, 2 cots, and a toilet. And that is a dangerous circumstance to be in, particularly when you don't have the staff to have them out in the day rooms as much as you'd like them to burn off that negative energy. To answer your question directly, we've got to have a community-based solution because I don't think the state is obviously going to fix what it needs to fix, in my opinion. Of those 2,700+ that I'd mentioned, 2,000 are pretrial county responsible people. About 150 are municipal holds where your ordinances and someone who's violated those ordinances have been picked up by your police and then are in our custody. Now, when your police arrest someone on a state law violation, that of course...
About 20 seconds to go.
Okay,
Go ahead.
that part becomes a county hold, county responsibility. So quickly, we need to do something better with the mentally ill. We need to figure out why we're incarcerating so many women and why we're putting nonviolent people into a maximum security facility. If there's a smarter and a cheaper way to handle these people and still hold them accountable and keep the public safe, then that's what we need to go forward with the public and invite their solution to be.
Oklahoma County Commissioner Jim Roth. Kent and I'll be back with a final word on the verdict right after this.
Thanks.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauties matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
Just keep it. Thank you. Dr. Kessler? What's up with the pizzas? Well, I just got my first satellite bill, and those extra fees were a bit of a shocker. So I had to take a second job.
Hey, this was supposed to be pepperoni, dillweed.
Hey, it's Dr. Dillweed to you.
Whatever.
Kids. It's cool, I'm a people person.
Don't live in satellite denial. Get all your entertainment without the hidden charges from Cox, your friend in the digital age.
There's a whole new world online, but it's not always safe for kids. Never agree to meet anyone you only know online, because they might not be who they say they are. And if you must meet them, take a parent along. It's the safe way for kids, right, gang?
Right. Be safe online.
Thanks to Lauren Nelson and Cox, we're working to keep Oklahoma kids safer online. For your free guide, log on now. And if you feel your child has been placed in danger by someone online, notify law enforcement today.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Final segment, Mick Cornett and Kent Myers. We're wrapping up a show in which we learn more about Oklahoma County government with Oklahoma County District 1 Commissioner Jim Roth.
Yeah, a lot going on at the county, a lot to go on. They're a very active, busy organization and group of individuals, coordinating seemingly pretty well, if you can believe what you read in the newspaper, and I think we can, at least in that context.
We talk a lot about combining city and county government, but if you're talking about a financial efficiency opportunity, it's got to be in public safety, because so much of our budgets are spent on police and fire that there has to be a better way than the number of fire departments that we have currently in Oklahoma County. There is opportunity there to combine some public safety, perhaps use the county as the vehicle to do that, and literally save millions of dollars.
Well, there really is, and the corresponding downside of that is the destruction of long-standing organizations that have tradition and the like.
Absolutely. We got to wrap up the show. Don't forget our website, theverdict.tv. We'll be back here next week with another show. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you then.
The preceding program was produced by the Production Services Group at Cox Communications, exclusively for the Cox Channel.